I think I am the virgin performance on the new product demo stage. So here we go. We have give it up for DJWORX that are hosting this, obviously, as well. So big shout out to the whole DJWORX crew. I know how hard they all work. So this is it. So this is the first public showcase of Native Instruments' new product. And it's actually two products. We have Komplete Kontrol, which is the piece of software that you can see up there. I'm pointing at my Mac, but you lot would get confused, so up there. And then also, can you see this as well, the keyboard? You can, over there. I need to stand here like this for it then, basically. Up, okay? Wait, you're just trying to get me to do YMCA, aren't you? That's what it is. So, and then down here, we have the new keyboard. So I'll start off with the software, first of all, with Komplete Kontrol. Are any of you Native Instruments users already? Do you use Machina? That's the big question I want to ask. Okay, so various nods, various shakes, etc. Just to fill you in on what Machina is our groove production studio, but the big thing that I want you to remember about Machina is it works on a filter system. And what I mean by a filter system is when you're browsing instruments or samples or sounds or groups, we do it via a filter system in the sense of that everything's tagged. So if you're looking for a kick drum, but you're looking for an analog distorted kick drum, what you would do is you would dial in drums, kick, analog distorted, and it will only show up what it's got in its file system that's been tagged by that. But the beauty of Machina is that it goes off and it looks at every other NI product that you've got on your hard drive as well. So if you own Komplete, which Komplete Ultimate is about 250 gig and it's about 77 instruments, what it's doing is it doesn't care what the instrument is or what the host is, it's just interested in actually the file type. Komplete Kontrol has been made to do this as well for Komplete, but with the addition of a keyboard as well. So what happens is I push the browse button and you'll see a new menu pops up on me. And it's all related down onto the keyboard as well. So I have a very obvious browse button there. This is my navigate area. So this is the bit we're interested in at the moment. Now I've just got a couple of decisions to make. If I go down, I can search via instrument. So I could say to it, okay, I only want to look at everything that's contained within damage, for example, all right? But then I could say, I only want to look at drums, and then I only want to look at digital drums within damage, and now on this right-hand side over here, that's all it's showing to me. So it doesn't care in the sense of that I'm trying to find digital drums from elsewhere, it's just specifically looking at damage now. But if I go out of it, and I deselect this, and I come up, deselect this one, and I deselect damage. And for me, the more interesting bit now, actually, because obviously there's all my complete instruments, is when I go down onto types. Because now what it's doing is it's not interested in what the host instrument is at all. So if I say to it, okay, I only want to look at piano keys, and now I jump over onto the right-hand side, it's showing me every single preset that's been tagged with piano keys out of all of my complete range. Now, obviously, if you've got 250 gigs worth of samples, this is a very, very quick and streamlined way of investigating your complete collection, okay? And what it will encourage you to do is it will actually encourage you to explore content that's been locked away or hidden away from you. Because even me, as an NI user and NI employee, I probably only know about 60 to 70% of Komplete. There's still bits of it that I haven't explored because it's nearly impossible to do that. So this is a very good way to organise and almost use it like a desktop workstation in that sense. So I could come down and obviously choose this, and if I hit it up, what happens is it gets loaded up, okay? I'll give you a bit more volume. But what I've got over here now is I've actually got a preset button, okay? So in the same sense as a hardware synthesizer, once you've gone into your preset and you've found like the bass area in it, you can just start dialing through and going on to the next preset. What I can do now is I can start flicking through, and you can see that I went through two massive instruments and now I've jumped to an FM8 instrument, okay? But this is still tagged as a piano instrument. So obviously if I play it now, that's the FM8. What I've got in this area here is I've got 8 macros. Basically, the idea being of having a keyboard, what we didn't want to do is we didn't just want to make a generic dumb MIDI controller in the sense of what other manufacturers make. We wanted to integrate a keyboard that was suitable for use with Komplete. Obviously, we make VST software synthesizers and other VSTs as well, but we want to give people much more of a tactile experience of actually it feels like you're using a piece of hardware. So now what I've got is I've got all of the things that I might need access to mapped in front of me here on these 8 macros, and you can see across on the LED display. And I've got a little page system here, and it says 1/17, which means I have 17 pages of parameters that I can go through. And I can just start skipping through them like this now. And obviously I can start to tune and mess around with things, or if I decide I don't particularly like that preset that I've loaded in, I can hit it and I can go to another one. What I could do is, obviously, once I'm bored with that, I can go back into Browse again, and I can come out, go to the right-hand side, and actually choose to come down and maybe go to the next one down, which is Modes. So it might be that I don't want to search by piano. I actually just want to say to it, I want you to play me everything, or show me everything that's arpeggiated. And again, now, it doesn't matter what instrument it's come from, it just looks at all of the arpeggiated information within it. So if I skip onto the top bit, I can also set up my own presets and import my own presets as well. So looking here, I've got a few, obviously, prepared for the demo that we can have a look at. So if I flip over onto the right-hand side and push this one in, this is a massive instrument. But what I want to show you now is actually how you've got hands-on access over all of these parameters now already. So obviously I've got my cutoff directly in front of me there now. Now this is really good because it means I no longer have to interact with the computer at all. I'm honed in, I'm dialed in on this area here now. And if you're anything like me, I learned to make music on hardware. So I prefer being in the zone and on this bit, and rather than having to break to it and go back to that old tool. Okay, and I can start dialing through now. And obviously I can find, and once I feel more comfortable, because what we've had to do is we've only got 8 characters per space, so obviously some of the function names have to get shortened down slightly. But what you'll actually see on the GUI, or the GUI as I get corrected that I should be saying, is you'll see that this is a slimmed down version of Massive at the moment. This isn't the usual interface that you're used to seeing with Massive. You can always go back to that if you want to by pressing the plus screen, and that comes up with what people are more used to seeing. But actually what we've done is we've streamlined it particularly because you've got full access to everything from the keyboard. So you don't actually need to go back to use those controls in Massive. So there's no point in cluttering up your workspace by having that visually available to you because it's already on the keyboard. So there's no point in duplicating that back. Okay, does that make sense? Good. Okay, so that's all good and that's fun and everything, and obviously we can keep on doing stuff like that, but then we wanted to take it another step further. So the first thing we started to look at was, okay, well, if you're using a keyboard, but you're using it within a DAW, obviously you don't want to have to go back to the keyboard, i.e. the computer's keyboard, to start and stop and play things. So if you look on this area here, we've got a very basic transport section. Play, record, stop, rewind, fast forward, and loop. Okay, they're the most importantly accessed things that you want when you're scoring out ideas or jamming things down. So they're all there. What I can do now is I can now jump onto the next one. If you look over onto this side here now, there's an obvious omission from a normal standard looking keyboard at the moment, and one of those is a pitch bend wheel, and the other thing is a mod wheel, okay? They're there, but being NI, we wanted to think about how can we use these in different ways from a performance feature and a performance point of view. So with this works in the way that you would expect it would with a touch strip for the pitch wheel, but you can change parameters about it. You can change how strong the spring back is on it and things like that. So you'll see at the moment, when I actually take my finger off, it takes a little while to get back to its original root note on that chord, okay? And in the same way, and I can actually change the amount of time that takes to release and how long it takes to come back and things like that as well. And you can do all of that from within the preferences over here. And it's as simple as going into the preferences setting. You'll see that I hit the hardware tab, and this is the bit that we're interested in at the moment, is the pitch strip. And you can see that I can change the release time back on that now. It's gone back straight away, okay? There's different staggered amounts that you can do it by. The next thing is actually to look at where the mod wheel should have been, but isn't. And again, we have a capacitive touch strip. One other thing to mention about these encoders as well, I don't know if you guys can see this too well, but these are all capacitive. So at the moment, velocity, for example, where my thumb is telling me that it's velocity, but there's no value range in there. I don't know what velocity's at. If I touch it, it's now telling me what that value is. So what that actually means is you're getting 2 levels of information in one space, but you're not having to double up the area that you need to actually transmit that amount of information between. Coming back to the pitch wheel, the touch strip area now, what does a mod wheel do? Well, a mod wheel modulates things, but on standard synthesizers and keyboards, it only modulates in one way. But obviously modulation can be applied in lots of different ways as well. So what we wanted to do is we've actually invented new behaviours that you can assign to these two touch strips, okay? And in the same way, if I go back and look here, I just need to go into preferences, come onto the hardware section, and we're looking at this modulation strip bit here now. And you'll see that at the moment, because this is still pre-release, we've only got two implemented on there. We've got standard, which is how you'd expect it to work. So if I come off, okay, I tell it what to do. The next one that we have on here is called ball. And you'll see by hitting on ball, I've given extra sub-levels that I can choose to now. So I can look to change the amount of friction on the ball. So now if I play it, so you can see from a performance point of view, you can start to actually really use these in a way that you can't use traditionally a pitch bend or a mod wheel, because you can't implement a behaviour type like that. But then I can change things as well now, so I can change the amount of friction on there as well. So, and also as well, I can come along and I can change the amount of gravity and things like that that's on it as well. And I can switch the walls function on there as well. So you can see that you can really start to experiment and use this particular feature in a different way from any other keyboard that's out there at the moment. Okay, so we'll go on to the next one. I'm just going to load up a standard piano now because, thank you. Okay, so standard piano, obviously I can play it that way, but what you'll notice is we've got a light guide across here, okay? The light guide can be used for many different things now on this keyboard. It's a visual feedback implement from a performance point of view. What I've got here is this performance area. These are still under debate as to what we're going to call these at the moment. I think they're being called smart play features, but it says perform on there, so I'm going to stick with performance features till I get my hand slapped and told otherwise. So the performance features, the first thing that I can do is if I hold down shift and scale, I actually go into the scale page. And if I divide this in half, I've got a scale engine on this side and I've got a chord engine on this side, okay? So the first thing with the scale engine is to actually switch it on. So what this will be doing for me is it's actually showing me scales that are being played. So if I look at the moment, I'm in the C major scale, and if I go to chromatic, it's showing me the root notes where those C's are, all right? But if I now switch it onto major, it's now switched off the non-relevant notes for the C major scale. Okay, so C to C, and you can see it has the intervals in between. But what it's also done for me as well on the blacks is it's transposed the wrong notes down for me. So for this one, for example, though I'm playing the D sharp, you'll see it's actually pulling the E for me. So I can't actually go wrong, even if I hit all of them, okay? And obviously we've got different scale settings within this as well. So you'll see now if I go up to a Japanese scale, for example, in C, okay, so I can play Japanese scales. I can also go right through, and there's plenty in there. I think there's about 16 different scales that you can play with. But the point to get across is you'll see that as I'm dialing through, it's updating with a light guide and only showing me the relevant information for it. I can go one step further as well if I want to and add an extra level of help in. If I now change this from standard to easy mode, what it's done is it's switched the blacks off completely and it's transposed everything down. But I can actually get it to stay within the C octave range if I want, but change the scale that I'm playing. So, okay, so I'm in A sharp now, but I'm actually only playing still on the C. Okay, so from a performance point of view again, if you want to stay within that particular keybed area, because you want to be playing with one hand and not move it around, but you want to dial through and change the scale settings, it becomes very easy to do that, okay? Also as well, from an educational point of view, if you're interested in bettering your music theory, obviously keeping it in standard mode, this is a great way for you to learn because the light guide is giving you the visual feedback of what data is important for you to remain within the scale that you want to play within. So for songwriting or anything like that, if you're stuck for ideas and you want to actually break out of just staying within a C major scale and work out what else can work with C major, this is a very good way to do it, okay? Circle of fifths is a good place to start, but then you can obviously embody that into your keyboard playing as well. And obviously I can dial through, and it will keep on doing all of that information for me. The next thing is the chord engine, and this is where it becomes really fun. At the moment, it's off, But if I switch it on, it's now playing chords for me, okay? But it's also showing me the relevant notes that are being played within that chord section as well. And you can dial through and you can change the different intervals of the harmonic chord that you're playing as well. So it could pull an octave for you if you want, or you can go right up to obviously like a 1, 3, 5, 7. And obviously a 1, 4, 7 and things like that. The next level of assistance, if you choose to use it from the performance features, is what we've called chord sets, okay? So our sound designers in Berlin have basically come up with 8 major chord sets, i.e. collections of chords that sound good together, and 8 minor chord sets as well. So for example, if I dial it onto a minor 8, okay, we're getting into the instant jazz sort of area now and things like this. But again, from a learning point of view, this is very useful because if I want to, I could then obviously dial out of the chord set and go back to chromatic mode and just play the keys that the lights have already shown me to play. And obviously, my ear should be tuned enough to know if it sounds the same as the chord that I've already heard before. Where this is good is actually, we've been working with a jazz pianist a lot over this because we wanted to see how someone who is a particularly very competent player is going to use it. And as he's been seeing, it's allowing him to do things in real time that are physically impossible because he'd have to layer, compose, go back, layer bits over the top of it. So he actually do stuff in one take that before would have taken him 3 or 4 takes to do. But equally as well, it's allowing him to experiment outside of the realms of what is normal with a keyboard or a piano as standard at the moment. Now, the next one, so I've just switched the scale engine on by switching it on and off. If I want to get out of it again, I just press Shift and Edit. I can now move on to the next one. So this is the next area, and this is the ARP engine that comes within it. The first choice is whether it's a note repeat. And obviously I can change the amount of rhythm that it's running on or the amount of gate, i.e. how much of the note is coming through. Just think about it like a release, basically. And also if I want to apply any swing to that as well. So then the next choice I've got is this has an arpeggiator engine built into it. Anyone that has a synthesizer with an ARP will understand how this works. For those that don't, it just allows you to play rapid successions of notes. Arpeggios running up and down as if you were playing across the keyboard, okay? So I've switched it on. Now I've just got to choose what do I want it to be, basically. Okay, and obviously you can keep on dialing through that to your heart's content. You can also then switch the scale engine on with it as well. So you can see that you can start to really explore things you wouldn't necessarily explore. Last thing to show, because I've got 2 minutes to go. We'll go on to the next one. We can actually start to use the light guide in a different way now as well. You'll see lots of pretty colours in front of me at the moment, but these pretty colours have relevance, okay? Anyone that's familiar with Contact will know that you can split the keybed across it and you can assign different things to different parts of the keybed, okay? So for an example for us, this is West Africa. So this is one of the Contact sampled instruments that we make. And if you look at the screen, you'll see there's a little keyboard on it and it gives you the key splits. So the bottom section down here are variations, okay? So I can then play those variations with the single note hits that are being shown to me up here in blue as well. And then in the intersection betweens, I have variations, phrases, and then I have all of my individual hits up here. And fills and things like that. But also, if you're making any of your own Contact sampled instruments as well, and you create a coloured split bed on it, all of that information would be imported in. If you use any third-party content with it as well, i.e. LA strings or anything like that with Contact, and you want to actually create your own split beds within it, all of that light guide visualisation can come back on it as well. Right, that's it. I've wrapped it in 20 minutes. So any questions, first of all? But you've got to do it in 30 seconds. No, everyone's gone really shy. So I'm going to step down. So if you want to come and chat to me personally here, because you don't like talking in front of people, I'm running in that direction really quickly. Okay? Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.